Right, okay, so the first chorus, can you tell me about what that means? What's a chorus?
Isn't all the bit that everyone remembers of a song?
Yeah, good. Okay, so it links to a song. So then if you go back to your form, so we've just introduced you to a different range of forms. Which one can we link it to?
Lyrical.
Okay, good. So it's lyrical, and what other type of poem is it? A sonnet, good. Okay, so two households, both alike in dignity. Can somebody tell me what the word dignity means? Alex? Good. Somebody give me another synonym for respect and dignity. If you are a dignified person, what are you? Good. That's really crucial to context here. So it might be that you put context and you put AO3. In Fair Verona, really important that we highlight Verona. Where is Verona? Good. Where we lay our scene. Okay. From ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. If you have a look at the underlined words, and then you look at the words in the opposite column, they go in order. So grudge is rivalry, break to is the outbreaks, and then mutiny is fighting. Okay, so that should give you some comprehension as to what's going on in the play there. So what does that whole line mean then? Ancient grudge, there's outbreaks, and there's mutiny.
It's described in the literature of families.
Yeah, good. Where civil hands, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. What's our interpretation of the word civil? Go back to Jekyll and Hyde. Peaceful. Friends, good. So that's quite a strange concept then, isn't it? Why would they say like friendly blood? Go on, Tony.
It's talking about how the innocent people find themselves in a situation where...
Fantastic. Okay, and actually if you look at that second part of that quotation, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. So actually it's people who are civilized, so both of them who are alike in terms of their pride and dignity, but you've got people who are civil, you know, in their day-to-day lives, their hands are unclean now. This feud is making them dirty. It's making them act like animals, unclean, uncivilized. So that's a really important thing. So draw upon this. Can anyone remember? There's a certain repetition here. What's that called in this sentence? Anyone remember what that's called? Civil hands. Think about the words, the syntax order. What we got? Begins with, I've just said it, but I've said the shortened version.
Syntactic.
Good. Okay, so you've got a type of parallelism there. So, in terms of Shakespeare's craft here, he uses this idea of syntactical parallelism. Okay. From forth, the fatal loins of these two foes, so they're fatal children, draw upon that word. So when something's fatal, what is it? Harvey?
Destined.
Yeah, good. Nice word. And also, if you're thinking about something being fatal, a fatality as well links to that, doesn't it? This idea that it's not necessarily a positive term. Yeah, fate we tend to tie with things that are positive, and that was meant to happen. If it's meant to happen, it's fate. Something that's fatal is almost that negative concept of it. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Star-crossed, linking to what you were saying earlier about the stars being aligned. If the stars are aligned, what does that say about the beliefs of the Elizabethan audience?
They're all fairly similar.
Okay. Could be to do with similarities. But if you believe in horoscopes, does anybody in here believe in horoscopes? Do you read your horoscopes and be like, I'm going to meet the man of my dreams today? I thought you did, Jamie. But what does that mean, though? If you're reading your horoscopes...
They're the audience at the time was maybe like superstitious.
Good. So, they weren't... These, you've got to put that in context, because you've got these Elizabethans who they didn't have what you have now. It was religion and it was superstition, and that was the belief. There wasn't any doubt or Darwinism or any questions back then. So it's the strong belief. So that would have been relative. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows. Okay, so unfortunate, pitiful downfall. Doth with their death bury their parents' strife. What's interesting about that? So not until their death do they shake hands and make friends. What can we say about that? These are their children. What does it say about the feud, perhaps?
It was that strong.
Okay, so it was that strong and that historic. It was that ancient. So go back to that word ancient. That links in there, doesn't it? But what else?
It's not like, it's not bad. They have to get something like even worse to counteract that.
It almost, if it was that bad of a feud, you'd think that even their death would. It must have been something big for them to have kind of gone that far. But I think in hindsight, and that's a wonderful thing, in hindsight, is that element of regret would come in there, wouldn't it? Okay, the fearful passage of their death-marked love. What does death-marked suggest? It does. Tells us right there. What else?
Can we not say that it's like pre-planned?
Yeah, good. Go back to that word destined, yeah? Linking these words together. Pre-planned or destined. Who plans out? What would the audience have believed in then? Who plans out our lives? Yeah, good. And I'll put that as a plural because I'll introduce it to some gods later on. And the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove. Okay, so again you've got this blame game here. It's their fault that this has happened, and that Shakespeare is accusatory with that. Is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Okay, so that last bit with that couplet, so that's our couplet. So it's where the endings rhyme, okay, attend and mend rhyme. Okay. So does that sound like a tragic, if we said it as a chorus, perhaps in song, would that really open us up to those tragic conventions, do you think?
No.
You're saying yeah?
Yeah, I think it's really highlighting how things going to happen. So it's like foreshadowing.
So if we look at word choice, things like, and perhaps lexical association, you've got things like grudge, mutiny, unclean, fatal. That type of lexis actually does connote some negative things, doesn't it? And actually, I think Tanya's right there. But the rest of you, and myself included, I think it does sound, if it's a song, it sounds quite jovial for something to be tragic, and it doesn't actually fit with those tragic conventions. Perhaps that's done purposely, so it sets us up so that later on in the play we feel more emotive about it because we were so positive in the start. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.